Before we start the show, may I ask you for a favor? Would you be willing to rate and review the podcast on the app wherever you listen to it? If you're willing to do this and send me a screenshot of your review, I will send you a Starbucks gift card in gratitude of you taking this time to do that. So it's super simple for you to do this. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, please leave a review on that app. Take a screenshot of the review and then email it to support@yoursalesmaven.com, and then we will send you back a $5 Starbucks gift card. Your ratings and reviews allow other people to take a chance and maybe listen to the podcast. So I'm so grateful if you would be willing to do this on my behalf. Thank you so much. And now please enjoy the show.
Are you ready to boost your confidence when selling so you're able to close more deals? Nikki Rausch will show you how to build a foundation of skills and a mindset that creates sales success without feeling pushy or salesy and without fear of rejection. She is a sales strategist and coach with more than 25 years of sales experience and is master certified in neuro-linguistic programming. This is a radically different approach to selling. It's a no sleaze, no slime, and no stress approach to building your business. This is Sales Maven. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch. I'm your own personal sales maven. I'm here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master your sales conversations. Today's episode is about how to sell your business team. Now, you might be somebody who has started your business as a solopreneur and at some point been able to scale to the position where you've brought in team members to take on some of the client-facing deliverables that you used to do because you've decided that your time will be better spent in other areas of growing your business or maybe in other areas of your personal life. And you have done this incredible job of building this team, bringing in amazing people, and you're struggling with how to sell your team because you think, or people tell you, they only want to work with you. They don't want to work with your team. And you feel maybe a little bit frustrated because you've got these great team members, but people only want you. They don't want the team. Now, this is something that I have worked with so many clients in the last few years that have been in this exact position. So if this is something that you're struggling with, this episode is for you. And the objective, hopefully, is that it's going to give you some ways to reframe some things that are going on in your head, the mindset that you have around this, and also maybe some suggestions that you can immediately implement into your business and make it so much easier to sell the team versus selling you. Okay? So one of the things that I'm going to challenge you to ask yourself first and foremost is, how are you positioning the team? Because when I dig into this with clients, when I'm working with clients privately on this topic, a lot of times they're not doing this intentionally, but they're positioning the team like they're second string. You know, it's like, I'm the best of the best because, of course, you are the best of the best. Like, you built this business. You know how good you are. You know how good your deliverables are. And maybe you're unintentionally kind of sending that message of like, the team is second string. You know, second string, if that's a new term, I know we have listeners around the world, so I don't know if this is a common term, but second string, like on a football team, you have like the first string is going to be the players that are almost always on the field, and second string is like backup. We had this when I danced in high school and college. We had first string like dancers. They performed at every performance. And then we had second string where they would switch out, like one time one person would perform and the next time another person would take that position and perform. So that was like the second string. Like, they're good enough to be on the team, but they're not like the best of the best. They're not the superstars. They're not the standouts. And in your business, you are the superstar. You are the standout. However, if you position your team members, when you talk about working with your team as if they are second string, people are not going to want to hire them. They're not going to want to work with them because like, who wants second string when they can have first string? Like we always want to work with the best of the best, right? When your money's on the line, when you're in the position of being the client, you want the best of the best. You want the best that your money can buy. So of course, if it's an option, you're going to pick the best or what is perceived as the best, right? And again, a lot of times this comes down to positioning. How is it positioned? And then what kind of experience does the person have? What will they remember about your business or when they work with your team? Will they remember that they didn't get to work with you, but they had a pretty good experience with the team member, but they still feel that like lack of working with you? Oftentimes it's because of the way you positioned it in the initial conversation, that initial sales conversation with you. This makes me think of a story. A little over a year ago, my husband and I had to take a road trip, and we ended up spending the night in this town that we didn't really know the town. And we got in kind of late. We'd been driving all day and we wanted to get something to eat. So we decided like, ooh, let's go get sushi. That sounds good. And I went on and found like reviews, like best sushi place in this town. And we went there and they said, there's a wait. We will put your name on the list. You're not allowed to wait in the restaurant because restaurants were opening back up, but still COVID issues. So they couldn't have anybody waiting in the restaurant. So put your name on the list and then you can come back. We'll text you when your table's ready. And it was about an hour and a half wait. So here we are, it's late at night. And we decide we're just going to walk around for an hour and a half until we can get seated. And we start walking around this little town where most of the shops in downtown are closed because it's late. And we turned down this one street and all of a sudden my husband's like, can you smell that? I'm like, I don't like, does something smell bad? I don't know. And then pretty soon it hit me. It was like this incredible smell of barbecue. And I don't know if you're a barbecue person, but we love barbecue. Barbecue is my husband's like favorite food. And this smell was just like incredible. We're like, we got to go find this. Like, let's go see what this is about. And we ended up finding this little hole in the wall restaurant and they could seat us right away. So we canceled our reservation at the sushi place. We got seated right away. And of course, I wasn't in the mindset that I was going to eat barbecue. I hadn't looked up any reviews. I didn't know what to order. So I always asked the, waiter or waitress. In this case, it was the waiter, what's the best thing on the menu? So of course he's like, well, we're really famous for our baby back ribs. So we're like, yes, please. We're going to share those. And he's like, and we have this side. It's mashed potatoes with burnt ends. He's like, I've never seen it on any other menu. People go crazy for it. And he's just like really selling these mashed potatoes with burnt ends. Now, if you're not a barbecue person, you may not know what burnt ends are, but they're like the little crispy bits on the end of the meat. And they're so delicious. Yeah. So anyway, we're like, well, we're definitely having those too. So we're going to share a dinner. We're going to have, ribs, burnt end, mashed potatoes. Can't wait. We're so excited. We're sitting at the table. We're talking about like, what could it be? Like, how's it going to taste? And then the waiter comes back and he's like, so I got some bad news. The order that went in right before yours, they took the last order of ribs and we're out of the burnt in mashed potatoes. So we were like, wah, wah. Oh no. Well, okay. So what would you recommend? And he did recommend something else, which we ordered. Food was delicious. It was an amazing meal. Absolutely loved it. As a matter of fact, one of the things on the menu that we tried to figure out how they made it, and we now make it at home. It was that good. However, when we talk about our experience at this restaurant and when we make this thing that we now make, we always talk about how we missed out on the mashed potatoes with the burnt ends. That's like the thing. Now, it's not the waiter's fault because I'm sure he didn't know at the time that they were out of them when he was selling them to us. But if you are positioning yourself like this delicacy, this like one in a lifetime opportunity of these burnt end mashed potatoes, that's you. And then your team is like second string. It's like, what are the other sides? Of course, people are going to feel let down. Of course, they're going to push you and see if there's any way that you can just fit them into your schedule. So I hope that story makes sense to you in the relationship, because I always think about this when I think about like this team experience. So now, when I talk about positioning, one of the things when we dig into this, when I dig into this with clients, a lot of times there's a little ego involved. And I'm not saying ego with judgment, because we all have ego. I have ego too. I can't tell you how many times people have asked me, like, Nikki, are you going to ever bring in a second sales trainer as you build your business, or somebody to coach that isn't just you? And my instant response is always like, I don't know, because I don't think anybody can do it the way that I do it, right? That's my ego talking, because I know I'm good at what I do. You know you're good at what you do, but you have to be willing to let go of that ego when you are in a sales conversation with a prospect. The other thing that I find that sometimes gets in the way, that maybe it's ego, maybe it's not, you can decide, but it's almost like the business owner that's having the sales conversation that wants to position their team, it's almost like they spend some time making excuses, or they feel like they have to give a disclaimer as to why they're not available, and then position the team. So that's another place of where you're like, you can't have me, but you could have the team. I know I worked with somebody a while back, and when we dug into this conversation, this was exactly what she was doing. Somebody was calling and they're like, so we need, she had a therapy practice. And so they were calling, we need an appointment. This is what's going on. This is the struggle, and we need to see somebody. And she would say, normally that's something that I would do, but unfortunately my schedule is full. So I'm going to refer you to one of my team members who will do a great job. And then people were like, but what would it take to get on your schedule? Because she led with her first. And I was like, how about if we stop leading with you? How about when the person calls and you say, we can absolutely help you with that. We have a team member who specializes in this, and this would be my recommendation for you. Like, you don't make yourself even an option, and see what happens. And what she found was that little shift in the way she was positioning it. It was like people no longer felt like they were missing out on something. And it wasn't that she, it wasn't that she was like, well, I'm the really big deal here. It was just like she felt guilty that she couldn't help every single person, which is why she had to bring on team members in the first place. So you got to let that go in the sales conversation. You can't lead with that stuff, because then people feel like they're getting second string. They're not getting the best of the best. Now, I just came back from a mastermind that I joined with these incredible business owners. I feel very junior, frankly, in the room with all of these people. They're just absolutely incredible. They've built these amazing businesses. And there were two people in particular that I got to have like one-on-one conversations with, and both of them were struggling with this idea of the team. Now, one of the people that I was talking to, and he was saying that, they only take like what he can deliver is very limited because they have this other arm of their business that they're focusing on. And so he was like, most of the time, like, we're not even the right solution, but people come in thinking they're going to get me, but I'm not even, like, they can't even afford me. And so I was like, well, when you're laying out your suggestions, your recommendation, if you already know that you're so outside of what they're looking to spend, you don't even position yourself as an option. So that needs to be a question. If this was, if you're charging a premium for you and your team members are maybe have a lower price point, then in your discovery process, you should be asking them, like, what's your budget for this? Or what are you looking to invest in this service? And if like if somebody says, I don't actually know what his pricing is, but I know it's, thousands and thousands of dollars. So if somebody says, I'm looking to spend $5,000 and your starting package to work with you, and this probably is not that far off, is like $20,000, you're not going to position the $20,000 offer to them, because then it feels like they're losing something, they're having something taken away, and it feels disappointing. So you're just going to position, like, my recommendation for you would be this package with this team. This is what they're going to deliver for you, and it fits right in with what you're saying is what you're looking for. That's what you position. Now, the second conversation I had, we had gone out on this sailboat. It was super cool, like this sunset cruise on this sailboat. And we had just gotten off the boat, and I was walking back to the hotel, and I was walking next to this other like member of the mastermind, and he was talking about his team, and he was saying that they're redoing their website to include the team on the website, but he kept calling it the associate team members. And I was like, are you worried at all about people and like choosing the team? And he's like, yes, this is the struggle. Oftentimes they want me and my wife who built the business. And I was like, well, maybe stop calling them associates and call them team members, because associates sounds junior. It sounds second string, and see what happens. So also, I would challenge you to think about, how are you positioning this on your website, your team members? Are you positioning them as second string? And if you are, that might be why people are struggling to pick them as the option. So, sometimes it comes back to like, what's your outcome? This is very NLP, by the way. What's your outcome? What is it that you most are looking to accomplish? And if the outcome is scaling your business, having team members do the client-facing deliverables so that you make more money, that maybe you work less, or maybe you can focus on other areas of your business, whatever it is, then remember that how you position the team, it needs to sound like the best option. You really have to this is where the sales piece comes in. There has to be some excitement. There has to be some confidence in the way it's positioned. It can't feel like second string. It can't feel like second best, because then people will just remember that they missed out on the mashed potatoes with burnt ends. See, like, this was like a really big deal, because I've now said it like 8,000 times in this episode. I'm still like, I even want to just go back to that town just so I can go back to that restaurant and have it and experience it. So if you're making people feel like they missed out on the experience, they'll feel less satisfied with what they get from you, from your team. So something for you to think about. All right. As we wrap up this episode, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that 2021 for me is the year of the question, because I know that conversations happen when questions are present. And if you're not asking questions, you're probably missing out on working with some of your ideal clients. You're missing out on having deeper connections with people. So here's another question for you to put in your toolkit. And this one's specifically around teams today. You might ask somebody, how might one of my team members best support you in achieving your outcome? How might one of my team members best support you in achieving your outcome? Notice, I'm not in there. There's no I statements in there. There's nothing about me. There's nothing about my company. It's how might one of my team members best support you in achieving your outcome? You could even say, how might one of our team members best support you in achieving your outcome? All right, so that's the question for you. Hopefully that's helpful. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you haven't left a rating, a review of the podcast, and you're enjoying this and you found value in this episode, would you please go and leave a review for me? I read all the reviews. They mean the world to me. I feel tickled by them sometimes. I feel like the tender places of my heart gets touched by your reviews. And if you would also share the podcast with somebody you know that would benefit from listening, would benefit from one of these episodes, please share it. And I'd also love to hear, what was your takeaway from this episode? There's nothing more thrilling than listening or from hearing from listeners of the podcast. I am so stoked when you take the time to send me an email or contact me on social media. And if we're not connected there, you can find me. I tend to hang out on Instagram under Sales Maven, Your Sales Maven, and also on LinkedIn under Nikki Rausch. So I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening today. Have an awesome day. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.